April 30th, 1945, 3:30 p.m. In a bunker beneath the burning ruins of Berlin, Adolf Hitler allegedly put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. His body was carried outside, doused in gasoline, and burned. The monster was dead. The war was over. Or was it? Within weeks, reports began to surface. Hitler had been spotted in Spain, in Argentina, in Antarctica. The FBI received over 1,000 reports of Hitler sightings after the war. Stalin himself publicly questioned whether Hitler was really dead. For 80 years, conspiracy theories have persisted. Books, documentaries, supposed evidence. Even today, people believe Hitler escaped. But what really happened in that bunker? And why won't this ghost die?
To understand the conspiracy, we must first understand what we're told happened. April 1945. Berlin is surrounded. 2.5 million Soviet soldiers are closing in. Hitler has retreated to the Führerbunker, a concrete fortress 30 feet underground beneath the Reich Chancellery. With him, Eva Braun, his longtime mistress, Joseph Goebbels and his family, Martin Bormann, a handful of staff. Above them, the Reich is collapsing in real time. April 28th, Mussolini is captured and executed by Italian partisans. His body is hung upside down in Milan. Hitler sees the photos. He knows what awaits him if captured. April 29th, 3:30 a.m. Hitler marries Eva Braun in a small civil ceremony in the bunker. Hours later, he dictates his final will and political testament. He blames the Jews for the war. He expels Göring and Himmler from the party for trying to negotiate. He names Grand Admiral Dönitz as his successor. April 30th. Hitler spends the day saying goodbye to staff. He's calm, eerily calm. At approximately 3:30 p.m., Hitler and Eva Braun retire to his study. A single gunshot echoed through the concrete corridors. Hitler's valet, Heinz Linge, and his SS adjutant, Otto Günsche, waited several minutes before entering. They found Hitler slumped on a sofa, a gunshot wound to the right temple, a Walter PPK pistol by his side. Eva Braun was beside him. No gunshot wound. She had taken cyanide. The bodies were wrapped in blankets, carried up to the Reich Chancellery garden, and placed in a bomb crater. 200 liters of gasoline were poured over them. Günsche struck a match. The bodies burned for over 3 hours while Soviet artillery shells fell nearby. Later that night, the remains, barely recognizable, were buried in a shallow grave. May 2nd, the Soviets captured the bunker. They found the burn site. They found something. But here's where the official story starts to crack. The Soviets didn't immediately announce they'd found Hitler's body. Instead, they said nothing for weeks. In July 1945, at the Potsdam Conference, Stalin told Truman and Churchill that Hitler had escaped. He's in Spain, Stalin said, or perhaps Argentina. Why would Stalin lie? He had the body, didn't he? The truth is, the Soviets did find remains, but they kept them secret for 70 years. What they found in that garden and what they did with it would fuel conspiracy theories for generations and give birth to the ghost that won't die.
Within months of Germany's surrender, the rumors began. Hitler didn't die in the bunker. He escaped. But where and how? Theory 1. The Spanish Connection. Spain was neutral during the war, led by fascist dictator Franco, Hitler's ideological ally. The theory:
In late April 1945, Hitler used underground tunnels from the bunker to reach Tempelhof Airport. A plane flew him to Denmark, where a U-boat was waiting. The submarine then traveled to Spain, where Franco granted him asylum. Some theorists claim Hitler lived in a Spanish monastery for years before dying of natural causes in the 1960s. The FBI took this seriously enough to investigate. Documents declassified in 2017 show they followed leads in Spain as late as 1947. They found nothing conclusive. Theory 2. The Argentine escape. This is the most popular theory, and it has some basis in historical fact. After the war, thousands of Nazi war criminals did escape to Argentina. Adolf Eichmann, Joseph Mengele, Erich Priebke. Argentina's president, Juan Perón, was sympathetic to fascism and welcomed Germans with open arms and open bank accounts. In August 1945, a German U-boat, U-977, surrendered in Argentina. Its commander claimed they'd just been trying to avoid capture. But conspiracy theorists ask, what took them 3 months to get there? What if they made a stop? Southern Argentina, Patagonia, became known for isolated German communities. Rumors swirled of a mysterious elderly German man living on a remote estate. In 1945, a photograph circulated claiming to show Hitler in Argentina. Analysis later proved it was taken in 1942 in Austria. In 2017, a team of investigators claimed to find evidence of Nazi presence at a remote Argentine estate. DNA tests on artifacts were inconclusive. Theory 3. The Antarctic base. Now we enter the realm of pure conspiracy madness. In 1938-39, the Nazis did send an expedition to Antarctica. They claimed a territory called New Swabia. Conspiracy theorists claim they built a secret underground base there, a refuge for the Nazi elite. In 1946-47, the U.S. conducted Operation High Junk, a massive Antarctic expedition led by Admiral Richard Byrd with 4,700 men and 13 ships. The official purpose: mapping and establishing a research base. The conspiracy theory: they were hunting for Hitler's secret Antarctic fortress. Some versions of this theory get even wilder, involving Nazi UFOs and alien technology. Historians point out building a secret base in Antarctica in the 1940s would have been functionally impossible. The climate is lethal. There's no infrastructure. Supply lines would be obvious. It's fantasy. The FBI files. In 2014, the FBI released its entire file on Hitler, over 700 pages. The reports are fascinating. Alleged sightings in Colombia, a tip that Hitler was living in a German community in Argentina, photos of supposed Hitler lookalikes. Every single lead was investigated and found to be false. Mistaken identity, hoaxes, wishful thinking. But here's the question: why? Why do people want to believe Hitler escaped? Psychologists suggest several reasons. 1. The idea that Hitler got away with it, that he didn't face justice, is so disturbing that people prefer to believe he's still out there, hunted, paranoid, in hiding. 2. It makes for a better story. The ultimate villain escaping at the last moment is more dramatic than a suicide in a bunker. 3. Distrust of official narratives. If governments lied about one thing, maybe they lied about Hitler's death too. But what does the actual evidence say?
Let's examine what we actually know. May 4, 1945, Soviet troops discover charred remains in the Reich Chancellery Garden. They find 2 bodies badly burned, and several others nearby, identified as the Goebbels family and others. The Soviets conduct autopsies. The male body shows signs of gunshot trauma to the head. The female body shows cyanide poisoning. But here's the key. They recovered dental remains. Hitler's dentist, Dr. Hugo Blaschke, and his assistant, Keith Heusermann, were captured by the Soviets. They were shown the dental remains. Both confirmed this was Hitler's bridge work. Unique characteristics matched their records exactly. Heusermann spent 10 years in Soviet prison for her testimony. She never recanted. But why did the Soviets keep this secret? Stalin had a political motive. If Hitler was alive, he could claim the West was hiding him. It was a propaganda tool. In 1968, the Soviets finally admitted they had Hitler's remains, but they didn't reveal what they'd done with them. In 1970, the KGB made a decision. The bunker area was being redeveloped. They couldn't risk the remains being discovered and becoming a neo-Nazi shrine. So they dug them up. They took Hitler's remains to Biederitz near Magdeburg, and they burned them, again. The ashes were crushed into powder and dumped into the Biederitz River. Adolf Hitler's physical remains literally went down the drain. But they kept one piece, part of the skull with the supposed bullet hole and fragments of jawbone with teeth. In 2000, these fragments were put on display in Moscow. In 2009, American archaeologist Nick Bellantoni was allowed to examine the skull fragment. DNA testing revealed the skull fragment was from a woman, not Hitler. Wait, what? Either the Soviets kept the wrong skull fragment, or it belonged to Eva Braun, or something else happened. But the teeth, those were confirmed as Hitler's by multiple sources and never contradicted. In 2018, Russian archives allowed French researchers to examine the teeth and jawbone fragments. Their conclusion? These are definitively Hitler's teeth. The dental work matches perfectly. And the analysis showed no evidence of meat fibers in the teeth, consistent with Hitler being a vegetarian. The scientific consensus: Hitler died in the bunker on April 30, 1945. But what about witnesses? Rokas Misch was Hitler's bodyguard and the last person to leave the bunker alive. He died in 2013 at age 96. Until his death, he insisted Hitler died in the bunker. He heard the shot. He saw the aftermath. Every surviving witness, Hitler's secretaries, guards, staff, told the same story. Could Hitler have escaped? Let's examine the logistics. Berlin was completely surrounded by 2.5 million Soviet soldiers. The skies were controlled by Soviet aircraft. The bunker had one exit, into the Reich Chancellery Garden, which was under constant artillery fire and Soviet surveillance. Hitler's health in April 1945 was catastrophic. He had Parkinson's disease symptoms, severe tremors, potential drug addiction from his quack doctor's treatments. He could barely walk. His left arm was paralyzed. He looked decades older than his 56 years. No U-boats were in Berlin. The nearest coast was hundreds of miles away through Soviet-controlled territory. Tempelhof Airport was under Soviet artillery range. The last plane out left April 26th. The scenario requires Hitler to secretly leave the bunker unseen, travel through Soviet-controlled Berlin, reach a plane or submarine, escape to Spain or Argentina, live in hiding for years without a single confirmed sighting, all while being the most recognizable face on Earth. Historians put the probability of Hitler's escape at effectively zero. So why won't the conspiracy die?
In 2025, you can still find dozens of documentaries, books, and websites claiming Hitler escaped. Why does this conspiracy refuse to die? Reason 1. The banality of evil. Philosopher Hannah Arendt coined the phrase, the banality of evil. The idea that great evil is often committed by ordinary people in ordinary ways. Hitler's suicide in a bunker is banal, pathetic, anticlimactic. We expect movie endings. The villain doesn't get to escape the final confrontation. But real life doesn't work that way. Reason 2. Missing closure. Hitler never faced justice. He was never tried at Nuremberg, never forced to answer for his crimes. For survivors of the Holocaust and World War II, his death seemed too easy, too quick. The fantasy that he's still out there, hunted, looking over his shoulder, it provides a psychological sense that justice continues. Reason 3. Mistrust of authority. The Soviet Union did lie about having Hitler's body. The U.S. government did help Nazi scientists escape prosecution through Operation Paperclip. If governments lied about those things, why trust them about Hitler's death? This is how conspiracy thinking works. One proven lie becomes evidence that everything might be a lie. Reason 4. It sells. Let's be honest. Hitler escaped makes for better entertainment than Hitler died as documented. Publishers, filmmakers, and content creators know this. Conspiracy content generates views, clicks, and revenue. And social media algorithms amplify sensational content over factual content. Reason 5. Ideological motivation. Some who propagate these theories have darker motives. If Hitler escaped, it creates doubt about everything. If you can question his death, you can question the Holocaust, question the Nazi regime's crimes. Some neo-Nazi groups promote escape theories because they want to believe their idol won, that he outsmarted the Allies. But evidence doesn't care about what we want to believe.
So what really happened on April 30th, 1945? The evidence is overwhelming. Multiple witnesses saw Hitler's body. Dental records definitively match. Soviet archives confirm the findings. No credible sightings were ever verified. Escape was logistically impossible. Adolf Hitler died by suicide in his bunker. There's no secret base in Antarctica, no villa in Argentina, no monastery in Spain. Today, the bunker site is a parking lot in Berlin. There's no memorial, no marker, just nothing. And perhaps that's fitting. Hitler wanted to be remembered as a conqueror, a legend. Instead, he died a coward, alone, in a hole in the ground. But the conspiracy theories continue. They probably always will. Why does this matter? Because it teaches us about how conspiracy theories work. They exploit our desire for exciting narratives over boring truth, our distrust of authority, our need for villains to face justice, our vulnerability to sensational content. The truth is often less exciting than fiction, but it's still the truth. Hitler's death isn't a mystery. It's documented, verified, and scientifically confirmed. What matters isn't how he died. What matters is what he did while alive. 50 million dead in World War II. 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. Countless lives destroyed. Those are the facts we must remember. Those are the lessons we must teach. Not ghost stories about a monster who escaped, but the truth about a monster who didn't. Today, Berlin is a vibrant, democratic city. Germany has faced its past honestly and built something better. The ghost of Hitler only has power if we give it power. And the best way to kill a ghost is to turn on the light and see there's nothing there. Just an empty room where a coward met his end.